I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On today's episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 7 recap. Pretty exciting week, not a ton of close games, but the ones that were close were very fun to watch. So before we jump into some of those games we're going to talk about, we got a lot of news from this prior week. So first of all, huge trade with the San Francisco 49ers giving a 2023 second, third, and fourth round pick, as well as a 2024 fifth round pick to the Carolina Panthers, and in return getting all-pro running back Christian McCaffrey. Now this is a hell of a pickup for them, especially considering he already started last week's game with the San Francisco 49ers versus the Chiefs. Christian McCaffrey was their play one. He was their starting running back, and pretty good compensation, especially for a running back who's as injury prone as McCaffrey is. If you ask me, this shows that Carolina is just truly going into a rebuild mode at this point.
Yeah, and that's nice draft capital for him. And one tidbit about the McCaffrey going to San Francisco is that the coach, Kyle Shanahan, well, his dad also coached Christian McCaffrey's dad in Denver.
Ed McCaffrey, that's cool. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey's dad played receiver for the Broncos. That's cool, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Nice little tie-in there. Next up, we got a little bit of a speculation, rumor type thing, not quite news, but it's with the Vikings, so I thought we'd mention it. I've seen multiple different things on Twitter and some inside sources saying that the Vikings may be signing Odell Beckham Jr. pending a past physical. So I've heard these rumors, and again, all rumors, not for sure. I'm kind of indifferent. I mean, it'd be nice to have a good receiver like OBJ. Makes me a little nervous how him and Jefferson would interact, but my nerves are a little loosened by the fact that OBJ showed that he could play second fiddle to an elite wide receiver in LA. He had Cooper Kupp ahead of him. He was still a team player, still played well. So I wouldn't necessarily hate it, but I don't know how necessary it is, especially considering we don't have a ton of cap space right now.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised by this move. The Vikings have Thielen and Jefferson, so I almost say OBJ would be the third receiver, which would be interesting to see how that would play out. But it'd be a hell of a pickup if it did happen.
Yeah. So again, all rumors, speculation, but we'll see. Now onto some more actual facts. Sadly, injuries, but still facts. Starting with the Chargers corner, J.C. Jackson will miss the rest of the season with an injury. Next up, Dallas safety Jordan Lewis suffered a season-ending foot injury. And then finally, New York Jets running back Breece Hall, rookie, will miss the rest of the season with a torn ACL. So huge hits across the board right there. 3 really big injuries. Bummer to see. But in the Jets' case, they get a little bit of a shining light on a bad situation because James Robinson is to the rescue on his way to New York from Jacksonville. The Jets send over a conditional 6th-round pick, which can become a 5th-round pick if Robinson hits certain incentives. So they get a brand new running back and a pretty damn good running back, one that was not utilized the way he should be in Jacksonville, for only a 5th-round pick. So I think that's a good pickup for the Jets.
Yeah, it's likely going to be a 5th-round pick. I think that he only needs to surpass 600 yards, and he already has almost 300.
Oh, well
so
then, yeah.
It's pretty likely he'll hit that milestone, and that's really a tough loss for Breece Hall. He was really just starting to get going and really get on track.
Man, he was looking good.
And it makes sense about the James Robinson trade because he had no touches last week?
0. He had 1 target and not a catch.
So that was very odd that happened, but now it kind of makes sense knowing that he was about to be traded.
Yep. And then another trade here, the Raiders trade defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins and a 2024 7th-round pick to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2023 6th-round pick. So just a little bit of a pick swap there along with the player, but good pickup for the Cowboys to get another defensive tackle on that
really
line.
Helps with their run defense, which is their weakest part of their defense.
Been weak
so
to
far.
say the least. And then finally, Matt Ryan is out with a minor injury, and Sam Ehlinger will be the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts next week. So we'll have to see how that plays out.
I've heard he's actually been benched. that not only will he not play the rest of the season.
That's
but
why I said a minor shoulder injury is
Yeah.
because that's kind of what it's seeming like, is the injury is only like a cover-up type thing. Not
Mhm.
true. So now we will jump onto the game, starting with the Thursday night game of the Seattle. What am I talking about? The New Orleans Saints heading to Arizona to take on the Cardinals and losing by a score of 34-42. And this score shows it a lot closer than it actually was. The Cardinals held that entire game on lock. It was a little bit close in the first half, but then Andy Dalton ended the first half with 2 back-to-back pick sixes,
yeah,
which really just broke the game open. The Cardinals never really slowed down until the very end in the second half. So relatively close score, not a very close game. Cardinals won it easy.
yeah, it was quite the shootout, a much more exciting game for a Thursday night game. But DeAndre Hopkins had over 100 yards, which I said that he was going to be a big part of that game, and he was.
Yep, good to see him back. He played well. Next up, we got one Callan probably does not want to talk about again for the second week in a row.
Third week in a row.
We have the Packers heading to Washington to take on the Commanders and losing by a score of 23-21. So a pretty close game. The Packers looked sloppy, to say the least. And trust me, the Commanders won, but they must be trying to read from the Vikings book, because it was one of the sloppiest wins I may have ever seen. They were down their quarterback. Their defense played just well enough to hold the Packers to 21, and the offense on the back foot of Taylor Heineke, because he was leaning back and just chucking things up, but somehow getting completions. Must have been some Heineke magic or something. But nevertheless, the Commanders pick up a win.
Yeah, I think it's time to hit the panic button on this one. The Packers just cannot take any body blows from any teams. It just seems like if teams keep just pounding away and hitting the Packers, that they just seem to falter, and that's on coaching. There's no second half adjustments being made, and the Packers just cannot put together a complete game. And when you're doing that, that's all on coaching. And I might say, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I might have to say, maybe a coaching change is in line.
Oh, that much of a panic button already. Well, you know, Rodgers is steadily declining. It's starting to really be seen now, and it's I've been saying it for a long time, but I think we're going to really start to see that it was Rodgers much more than any coaching staff at any point there in Green Bay the past decade or so. But well, I was going to say that they'll have a nice makeup week next week rather, but I think Packers fans would like to have a get right game, as some people call it.
That was supposed to be this week.
But next week they have the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo, so I think we're far from a get right game for the poor Green Bay Packers.
I expect a 50-point blowout.
It might happen. Next up, we have an AFC South divisional matchup with the Indianapolis Colts heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans and losing by a score of 19-10 on the back of 2 Matt Ryan interceptions.
Yeah, that's part of why he got benched. The Colts have just been struggling, and Matt Ryan is the key to that. This was a battle for first place where the Colts really could have taken control of the division. Instead, they fell down to third with this loss.
Yeah, you had 2 teams battling to lose in this game. It was a sloppy game on both sides, but the Titans end up somehow walking out of that stadium with a home win. Next up, we got the Seattle Seahawks heading to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers and picking up a pretty healthy win by the score of 37-23. Now the Seahawks, who would have thought that the Seahawks were going to be 2 games ahead of the Denver Broncos? Who'd have thought the Seahawks were better off without Russell Wilson? It's just crazy things to think about there, but nevertheless, fly Seahawks. I love to see it. I mean, no one had any trust in them, me included. I'm not trying to say I did it all, because I was talking shit from day one after that Russell Wilson trade, but good for them. Love to see an underdog keep picking up wins.
Yeah, that's quite a surprising win for them, and they've been quite the high-powered offense, scoring over 30 points in their last 3 games. So Geno Smith has really it's clicked for him, and I think it took a while, but it's really showed that he's matured into quite the starting quarterback.
Kenneth Walker with 168 and 2 touchdowns. Love to see that from the rookie as well.
Big, too.
Yep, and then now we got our 2 primetime games with the Steelers heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins, and the Dolphins win 16-10. And just as I said a little bit ago with the Colts and Titans, this kind of seemed like a game of 2 teams trying to lose. Another close one in which both teams looked really sloppy. and the Pittsburgh Steelers lose by what literally can only be described as inches. Deontay Johnson, with time expiring, caught the ball on the goal line but was stopped short by the Miami defenders. So a well-fought win. Okay fought win by the Miami Dolphins.
And, Kenny Pickett did not have a great game here. He had 2 chances before the last chance for a go-ahead touchdown and threw 2 bad interceptions. And that's the key there, because he had a chance to be the comeback hero, and he kind of blew it.
I'm pretty sure both those interceptions were in field goal range too. So when you're only down by 6 and have 2 field goal range interceptions, that's rough. And then finally, the Monday night game, Monday night shocker, with the Chicago Bears taking out the New England Patriots in New England by a score of 33-14. And Cal and I both had the Patriots in this one last week, but I should have known Bill Belichick is tied with George Halas for second all-time in wins by a head coach. The Bears were not going to let him win and beat George Halas against them. We should have known that the Bears were going to pick up a win.
If I had known that, I might have changed
I think I might have changed my pick too, but nevertheless, great win by the Bears. I want to say they had more rushing yards than the New England Patriots had total yards of offense. It's just insane to think about.
Yeah, Justin Fields had almost 100 yards rushing. He had over 80 for sure, and he had a hell of a game too. And the defense for the New England just was not able to figure him out in any way.
Justin Fields missed a lot of passes though, which he's been doing that a lot this season. We'll have to keep an eye on that if he can continue to improve his accuracy. But he does have that winning fight in him, so you love to see that at the very least. So that was our NFL Week 7 recap. Look out tomorrow for our NFL Week 8 predictions. But until then, don't forget
to eat the W.